Good afternoon and good morning and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today and welcome to our latest Causley webinar, Autonomous AI Agents for Life Sciences R&D. My name is Robert. I work on the marketing team here at Causley. I'll be your moderator today, and also joining me today are some fantastic experts. They're going to share their knowledge and their insight in today's session. And I'm sure many of you have joined, given the buzz around Agentic at the moment. Some of the industry has been hearing a lot about lately. So in this session, our aim is to demystify what that means, to be truly agentic, and what Causley brings to the table. Okay, quick team intro. Joining me today's session. First, we've got Eleanor, a product manager here at Causley. She's the group product manager for Agentic research overall, and Eleanor has been has led this product from the beginning. Very much a passion project for her, and the output of which is this incredible platform that you're going to see a little of today. Next was Satya, who has a PhD in oncology. She comes armed with a vast knowledge of platform life sciences and research best practices. So she'll be giving you the live demo of Agentic research today and also be answering some of your questions alongside Eleanor in the session. And finally, just a quick summary of the agenda. So we're just going to set the scene with some of the R&D challenges facing teams today. Then moving on to this era of Agentic, what it means and how it can transform scientific research specifically, and then a live demo of Agentic so you can see how it functions today. And then finally, of course, the Q&A as mentioned. There'll be some polls, some interaction, and rest assured, again, all responses are completely anonymous. And without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Eleanor.
Thanks, Robert. Okay, I'm Eleanor, and I'm joining you today from the product team at Causley, where I lead a team of people that are really focused on solving some of these big challenges in R&D. I was speaking to a scientist last week, and they were saying to me, what an exciting moment to be doing work like this. And I couldn't agree more. We're working now in a very exciting time where data and technology are coming together to enable some really big opportunities within R&D. And so you're all doing work here in a moment where people in life sciences R&D have access to enormous amounts of internal and external data, including millions of biomedical papers, research reports, experimental data, and databases. And in theory, all of that data should be helping to fuel scientific discoveries. But in reality, we're seeing that this influx of data is also slowing things down. Research then remains a typically siloed and manual job where scientists are often spending weeks analyzing a very thin slice of biomedical literature or information that's available. And being restrained to a very thin slice can be quite frustrating at times as well, especially if there are biases that creep in or if there are critical insights that get missed and breakthroughs that could happen but don't. So there's a lot of information that's coming in, and we're also seeing that the cost of doing research here is increasing, and we're not necessarily seeing the failure rate changing. So we'd really like to make some progress in this space as well. And we know what R&D teams need is scientifically grounded, end-to-end intelligence, because we know that scientific workflows are long and they're complex. It's really important to be able to find relevant information and feel confident that it was a very comprehensive search. It's important to be able to surface the insights that matter in the context of a decision, and it's important to come together around these insights to be able to make these decisions together. We also know that to you it's really important to be able to capture this information inside your organization to learn from and to be able to stay up to date around this. So this is why the right tool here needs to be really grounded in the science, something that's built for scientific rigor, something that's quite accurate and defensible with results that you can go back to, with traces that you can go back and look at. Something that's comprehensive with access to the right amount of information across biomedical research and the competitive landscape, because increasingly scientists are expected to contribute towards that strategic decision making. And it's also important that a tool here is very easy to use with an interface that maximizes for adoption, supports for team collaboration, and enables continuous monitoring to stay up to date. This is why we've created Agentic research, something that helps compress cycle times and increase the probability of success. Now, Agentic research is a platform of autonomous AI agents that work together, as well as an interface where you can have conversations with these research agents in order to get evidence-backed answers. And we're very excited today to show you this in action. Satya is going to walk us through this in just a moment. Now, agentic research is very exciting because it is built by the scientists on our team for scientists, with autonomous research agents that do transparent, traceable thinking, so you can see exactly what they're doing every step of the way. It also has very comprehensive access to data sources so that you can find biomedical information and competitor data all in one place together. And it's incredibly easy to use. As easy as speaking to a colleague, you can use that and then orchestrate research through this interface and bring your colleagues together into one workspace that you can help eliminate some of those silos. So without any further ado, I'd love to pass it along to Sathya, who's going to give us a live demo.
Thank you so much, Eleanor. I do hope the folks are able to see my screen. Without further ado, let me walk you through a live demonstration of agentic research, as Eleanor has already given the preface. So as Eleanor mentioned, the vision with which we have created agentic research is to have the experience of the end user, the researcher, the scientist in mind, which is why we are able to present agentic research within the ecosystem, within the suite of tools and modules that are already existent within Causally. To the folks on the session who are already aware, you will see that agentic research now lives among our suite of tools. So when you start your exploring your idea with agentic research, we have kept minimal barrier entry barrier in mind, where the idea is that you as a researcher come in and go ahead and give a task for agentic research to perform. Not just a question, not just a simple Q&A experience, but rather a complex set of requirements that you have for your use cases and your research needs that you would like agentic research to tap into. So for today's demo, I've created a sample question that you see over here, which is to create a target assessment report comparing the most cited and the least cited targets in colorectal cancer, and include a specific set of bespoke categories that are important to me as the end user. So all I have to do is kick off that search, and you can see that agentic research is doing a few different things in the background. And while it's doing those things in the background, I actually have full visibility into what exactly it's doing. So here you see our suite of agents in action. So you have our agent who is currently thinking through my question. It understands the context behind my question. It breaks down the question into components before the planning agent then takes over and says, okay, for this particular question, these are the steps that I need to be executing in order to arrive at an appropriate response. So then the data retrieval step happens. And here it's worth noting that it actually takes into account multiple data sources, including costly data sources, as well as a web search. In this case, you can see that it is browsing through Costly's data sources live to address the first part of my question, which is what are the most cited and the least cited targets in colorectal cancer. It then goes on to perform a web search so that it then is able to combine the best of both worlds, which is our data, our curated data sources, as well as a web search in order to produce this bespoke response. So if I look at the response, which took 57 seconds to be precise, I have visibility into all of those categories that I asked for, such as the biological function, the roles in disease mechanism, and so on and so forth. You can see that it has also identified the most prevalent target to be KRAS in colorectal cancer, and the least prevalent target to be ALDH1B1. This is a great example of where agentic research is able to tap into our curated data sources to assign the most and the least prevalent or studied targets, because this is information that is inherent in our data fabric, and then use a web search as well to basically pull and synthesize information together. So this is what a typical user experience with agentic research looks like. I'd also like to highlight that in the Causally spirit of transparency and visibility into evidence, users are also able to explore individual evidences directly from the agentic research output. Or if you would like to have a bit more of a concise visibility based on a summary table, you could look at all of this information and also be able to share this information with your colleagues as well. So as I mentioned, this is what a typical experience with agentic research looks like. So the target assessment report example that I've walked you through is one use case that you can achieve using agentic research. However, given the nature of the data sources, which is the costly data sources as well as the web search, there's actually quite a wide variety of use cases that can be successfully addressed and achieved using agentic research. So for today's demo, I've actually preloaded some examples. So in this example, I was investigating some relationships between the mechanistic insights of a particular disease for a particular mechanism. As you can see over here, agentic research reasoned for 30 seconds. And what I was also able to do in this experience is actually ask for follow-on questions as well. So in this example, just to recap very quickly, I'm exploring the target disease example, disease mechanistic underpinning mechanisms over here. So then if I scroll down, I can ask this follow-on question where I'm able to interrogate and ask about specific data sets that are investigating this particular disease and a certain mechanisms. So the second value add of agentic research is that it's interactive. You have this chat-like functionality where you're able to basically follow on. It will remember the context of your initial question so that you can continue your journey of exploration and interrogation without any pause whatsoever on the Costly platform. Again, to give you a quick view into yet another example, which is quite a common use case with agentic research, is to understand information about preclinical research. So for example, in vivo model selection, right? You could ask quite an open-ended question to say, which in vivo model best replicates a certain disease model that you're investigating. You could look into the data sources. You could ask follow-on questions. You could ask it to focus on data coming from a certain geography. There's quite a wide variety of iterations and interactions that you can do with agentic research, depending on what your use case is. So hopefully this has given you an idea of what agentic research is, how it is integrated into the Costly platform, what are the use cases it can address, and also what your experience as a user could look like when using agentic research. With that, I would like to pass it back on to Eleanor.
Okay, what you've just seen in action over here with Sathya is how agentic research works to be able to answer these questions. I'd love to now draw the curtain back a little bit and show you under the hood how this is working and how we make this possible by introducing you to our galaxy of research agents. So as Sathya walked you through over there, as soon as you ask a question, the orchestration agent starts working with these other agents here in green to break down the question. They think about the different components that make up the question, and then think about planning how the question will be answered. Then they'll work with the various different data sources that they have access to retrieve the most relevant evidence for that. That all comes back and gets reviewed by a principal investigator agent to make sure that we have a comprehensive answer, and then gets brought together by the synthesis agent to create a well-formatted answer that's ready to read, ready to share, ready to bring into a report. If we take a layer outside further from the center, you can see we also have our layer of tool agents. Now, these tool agents know how to use specific tools. Also within Causally, we have some other products, including the Causally Biograph and the Causally Pipeline Graph, which are incredibly valuable tools for doing specific work to do things like understand mechanistic biology or get an understanding of the competitive landscape of everybody that's working on a specific target. Our agents can then understand and interact with this data and bring it all together inside agentic research. Going a layer further out, we have expert agents that we're starting to build that are built to solve specific research tasks end to end. You could imagine that your organization has a specific way of doing target assessment, and so this could be a way of templatizing what Sathya showed in her example. But you could also imagine other tasks like enrichment analysis, which would require using different models and bringing that all in to complete that task end to end with agentic research. And then I'm sure many of you in your organizations are also starting to think about building your own agents. So imagine a world where your agents could interact with Causally's agents to bring all of this internal and external data together to provide a really comprehensive answer that is evidence-backed and grounded in the science. So you can see how we're starting with our orchestration agents and we're building out our galaxy of research agents and where we're going to take that next. This is all possible because of the technology that we have. This is built on our best-in-class technology that we only have at Causally and nowhere else. This has three main components to it. First off is our scientific information retrieval system. The second is our agentic AI operating system. And the third is our enterprise data fabric with 2 different knowledge graphs. Our scientific information retrieval system takes retrieval augmented generation to the next level. Since it's built for science, it includes ontologies that understand the different synonyms that you can use for biomedical concepts and works to retrieve the right information based on that. So it's a really strong retrieval system to find evidence that you need. Our agentic operating system is what makes our AI agents able to work with each other and talk to each other in such a way. They're governed by policies. That means that they retrieve information and generate fantastic answers for you. And then our enterprise data fabric is an incredibly rich set of different sets of data, from publicly available data to your own internal data if you choose to integrate, along with our knowledge graphs in the biomedical space and in the competitive space that we have built and iterated on over a number of different years. So all of this comes together into our first agentic AI research platform for life sciences R&D. You can see in our stack that we have quite a modular approach, which means we have flexibility to integrate with different agents and evolve it as we go. And we bring this together with our domain-trained AI agents that are aligned to scientific methods and goals, along with our proprietary data fabric that integrates the biomedical knowledge graph, as well as competitive intelligence, the private data sets, and web sources to create this very rich data fabric, and combining that with our scientific information retrieval system. All of this means that you can enhance your productivity without compromising compliance. We know that for IT teams, what really matters here is adoption of these tools so that they're really easy to use. And you can see here in the diagram that for a researcher using the platform, all they need to do is ask questions and they'll get evidence-backed answers back. So it's really easy to use, as easy as having a conversation. But under the hood, we have lots of different agents that are working together to provide this level of accuracy and to provide this level of relevance to the scientific workflows where this works so well. All of that means that you get faster insights with a system that provides oversight and control, with reduced compliance and governance risk, and overall that leads to faster, measurable ROI from these AI initiatives. But don't just take it from us. Satya, would you like to walk through what we're hearing from our customers as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Eleanor. So as an addendum to all of those points that Eleanor just mentioned, I want to share some sentiments that our users are already sharing based on their experience using agentic research for real life use cases today. So these use cases and users range from quite a few backgrounds, whether they're doing target evaluation, whether there are biologists doing a certain interrogation into a certain disease. The constant repetitive voice that we're hearing from our users is that time is a huge factor in terms of what value it's bringing to them, but also accuracy and quality of data and information that they're able to extract using agentic research. So as Eleanor mentioned, it's not just what we're seeing, but also the resonating voice in the field is that agentic research is adding significant value to the work that our users are doing today, and we hope to take that into the future as well. If we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to wrap up today's session really before we open the floor for Q&A by sharing a little bit about what it is that agentic research is able to bring in terms of differentiated capabilities to the end user at Causely. So what you are able to do with agentic research is to generate accurate, transparent, and defensible research. How do we enable this? By allowing you to have visibility into all of the evidence points and data sources that are coming from both our knowledge graph, our inherent data, but also the web search. So we take pride in the full transparency of evidence when it comes to your experience using agentic research. So when I was walking you through the demo, I noted that you're able to peruse not only all of the documents that are relevant to your search, but what are the documents that were browsed through in order to produce your response as well. We also take great pride in providing the depth of analysis where we have full transparent visibility, give our users transparent visibility into what are the assumptions that our agents are making when perusing and responding to a certain query or a task that you perform, that you give to agentic research. So this is evidenced by those agents, those steps where you have visibility into the agent that breaks down your question, plans your question, pulls the data sources, and then presents the response to you. So this is the analytical depth that we are able to bring when using agentic research. And finally, agentic research, as I kicked off today's demo, sits within the Causally ecosystem, which means it's not just a standalone product or module, it's very much incorporated into the Causally suite of tools and modules so that you're not working on it as an island. It's very much designed with the view of collaboration, where you can create these reports, you can share them with your colleagues, you can invite them to come and comment, and so on and so forth. So it is truly purpose-built for science and lives within the Causally ecosystem. With that, I would love to open the floor for questions and also pass it on to Rob, and hope that you enjoyed today's session, and looking forward to a lively Q&A and discussion as well.
Thank you so much, Satya and Eleanor. That was fantastic. I think just to bookend how we started the conversation on the session today, with what we just covered, obviously, albeit brief, gives you some clarity into how agentic research differs from other AI tools you might be familiar with, but also how Causally is designed very specifically to cater to life science R&D workflows. So we'll move into the Q&A, but let's very quickly move on to the first question, see what's coming in here. This is what we get a lot, so we'll start here. What data sources does Causally use for its platform and for agentic research, more broadly speaking? Satya, I might give you that one if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely. And looking through the questions, that's quite a resounding theme. I think a lot of folks are curious about that, and rightly so. So for agentic research, as I showed you in the live demo, it's a combination of Causally curated data sources, so data sources coming from our data fabric, as well as a web search. So our data sources include literature data sources, such as data from PubMed, from Medline, as well as preprints. And in addition, we also include data from GWAS catalogs, USPTO for patents, as well as clinical trials data coming from cp.gov. However, this is not the exhaustive list of our data fabric. We also include competitive landscape information coming from press releases, press releases, company websites, and US FDA drug labels as well. So it's quite a wide compendium of data sources when I say the Causally data fabric. But the value of agentic research, that is, all of this is enriched additionally using a web search component as well. So this is what I meant when I said you get the best of both worlds. While on the topic of data, Robert, there's also a question about the ability to upload user documents. So I'd be happy to take up that question.
Yeah,
so
please.
At the moment, the agentic research is not able to get your documents as input. Having said that, this is resounding feedback from a lot of our users. And we also have Eleanor here from the product team. And I'd love to hear Eleanor's thoughts on how we're thinking about this from a product roadmap perspective as well.
Yes, so if the question is about how do you bring your documents and information so that you can get answers about it within Causally, as I mentioned, there's a lot of different layers that make up Causally's platform and our ecosystem, and one of those layers is the Causally data fabric. So we do offer with some of our partners an integration where we can integrate with your private data, with your internal data, and so today that's the best way to do that with Causally. So it's a platform-wide integration where we would bring in some of your information technologies that we can collaborate with that in the system together. That would then enable you to ask a question within agentic research and get an answer that holistically looks at web sources, Causally's data fabric, as well as your internal documents.
There's also a question about the security aspect for internal documents as well. So perhaps it's linked to this topic. So when we work with our clients' information, whether that is your document or whether that is the question or prompts that you're using on the Causally platform, you have full privacy associated with the work that you do on the platform. So this means that we don't have visibility, or nobody else has visibility. You work within your own private environment, in a sandboxed environment, so that we ensure full privacy to what you do. Notably, we do not train our models at all, agentic research or the earlier deep research that we launched some time ago, with the questions that you ask. So that is a differentiator in terms of security and reliability as well.
When can I get access to agentic research?
That's a great question. As you saw from Satya's demo, it is alive and ready to use. We will be rolling out Agentic research to all of our customers starting next week. We've been testing it in a beta period for the last month or so, and the feedback from the beta period has been resoundingly positive. So we're very excited to start rolling it out more broadly from next week onwards.
Bill and Georgios, I see a question we get a lot, both in this session today and then I think also in general when we're speaking with customers is, why should you choose, say, something like Causely's Agentic Research over tools that a lot of people already use, like ChatGPT or Perplexity? That was already touched on, but maybe Satya or Eleanor, could I pass that one to you just to close us out?
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to. So, as Robert mentioned, it is a fairly common question, and the differentiator really comes down to the quality, quantity, and the reliability of the results you see from agentic research. So, agentic research is truly calibrated for biomedical data, literature, use cases, and research, which means the data sources that we tap into, you're not just getting an open web search like you do with those tools that Robert mentioned, but also into the curated and quality control checked data that Causely has in-house as well. So that is the one of the aspects of value that agentic research brings to you. The second is the breakdown of the agents, as I was showing you earlier. So which means the underlying search strategy itself is the second aspect of value. Again, this is also calibrated for scientific questions, which have their own nuances and the way in which they need to be handled in order to get reliable results. So I would say these are the top two factors that differentiate agentic research. And by these two factors alone account for those features of quality, quantity, and reliability that I mentioned earlier. But we would also be more than happy to share some follow-on information. I see there are a lot of questions, touching on this topic more or less. So I'm more than happy to share some follow-on information on how we quantify this quantity, and reliability as well in a follow-on email. So very happy to have this conversation and very exciting.
So we'll wrap up very quickly. Just again, just to summarize, a full recording will absolutely be shared after today's session, so you'll be able to revisit this at any point. We'll also share some supporting agentic research collateral, I think to Satya's point, but also again, we're happy to share some specific use cases if you guys are curious. And also we'd love some feedback. So we'll share a survey after this. We'll be keen to know your thoughts, what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of. All that feedback is very valuable. But without further ado, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know it was a quick session. It was a very top-level demo of what agentic research is capable of. So if you'd like to see the platform in depth or an opportunity to apply it to your own research, please do reach out to the team. Either you can reach out to us directly at the email there, or you can even request a demo directly on our website. We'd love to show you it in action. But thank you again for your time and take care.